Hey guys, and welcome back. So we've been playing around with the Bane-Hexer or Hex-Bane, or we haven't decided what we're calling this Warlock yet. I know his name says Hex Purger, but that's not actually the skill we're using. Just sounds better than Hexbaner. So basically the reason we're coming to you guys back with the same build again is we've been playing around with the weapons a little bit, and I've decided that while Phase Blade is the fastest base, the damage just really isn't there on the physical end as far as leechability. It's fine when you have the Drax, it still kind of tends to work. As soon as you don't have the Drax though, your leech factor and therefore survivability will drop quite a bit. So looking at some other options, one of them is the Cryptic Sword Oath. It has the indestructible, it's still very fast, it's lightning fast, has 50% increased attack speed. The base itself is fairly fast as well, and it's got fairly good damage at 540. So this will give you plenty of leechability, as we call it. If you throw on something like a Fortitude, I'll just show you the numbers, they get pretty crazy. So here's my damage numbers just prior to casting anything. They're already quite high. Then I cast the Hex-Bane, right? And now we have magic damage as well on our weapons. And now we're doing like just ridiculous damage. And we're still leeching, right? Any sort of leech that we have on our gear, this is gonna work with that, right? So let's just have a look-see. Once again, just for proof, right? We're on players 8. We do all our testing for the most part on players 8 unless stated otherwise, right guys? But I mean, this is just absolutely just eviscerating them. I was using Cleave for a little bit at the beginning, but I still prefer Mirrored Blades. It seems faster somehow. But there you go guys, players 12, not a scratch on me, right? Now keep in mind we do have 75% block chance still with our Storm Shield. I suppose if you haven't seen our previous video, I should give you guys the rundown. So this is our helmet. It's a 1540 jewel. You can put whatever you want. It's a G-face. We're using High Lord's Wrath. You can also use a Cat's Eye. You can use an Atma's. You can use what do you call it? Angelic set with the rings. You could use whatever you like, a nice crafted amulet. It really doesn't matter too much. High Lords is just best in slot. Storm Shield best in slot. 40-15 jewel. You can put an Rune. You can put something else. You can also just use a shield that isn't Storm Shield. As long as you're able to meet your maximum block chance, you'll be okay. You can use Moser's Circlet. You can use Winston's Guard. There's a bunch of options. Gore Rider Boot. You can use Goblin Toe instead if you prefer, but you'll lose the Deadly Strike and the Open Wounds. This is just a dual leech ring that I made in like a hero trainer. This is a ridiculous roll. Don't try to get something like this. You'll probably never find it. But I just needed the dual leech. Any dual leech ring will be great in this slot. Raven Frost for the cannot be frozen, as well as the attack rating, dexterity, etc. Thunder Gods to resist lightning, and again Dracul's for the survivability between the life leech and the life tap. Okay, so that's the gear. Stat allocation is, to be honest, it was only as much as I needed to use the Storm Shield, but I guess oh yeah, it's because of my ring. Yeah, so we only put maybe 156 in here. Everything else is just boosted by stats. This one I think we only invested like 195 or something to hit the 75 cap. The rest is all vitality. So okay, you guys saw how strong the Oath is. So Oath obviously works really well. Also, I wanted to show you, you don't need the Fortitude necessarily. This is kind of an expensive piece. Look what happens when I take it out. You lose like 1k. Okay, maybe 2k on the Cleave, but like it's negligible if I'm being honest. It's once you get into the thousands, it's all kind of a wash. You're better off maybe using a Treachery or something like that, right? Extra damage reduce, you'll meet your cap because this one will give you 15 with the Fade and then 35 on the Storm Shield. So now you're at maximum damage reduction, plus this one will give you better resistances. It'll give you Venom. Come to think of it, this might be the better choice over Fortitude. So just because something's more expensive doesn't make it better, right guys? Let's see, yeah, that's still plenty of damage. So, okay, Oath works great. What else are we gonna try? This is just meant to mimic like a really high-end rare that you might get. For those wondering how the phase blade is ethereal, this comes from upgrading the dimensional blades, which can spawn as ethereal. Let's make a new game here just so we can attack a bunch of new guys in the Frigid Highlands. Okay. So this is just meant to mimic a top-end rare that you might get, right? You'll probably never find something like this, but close enough to this. We just want to see how it sticks up and compares to the others. You know, like, is it even worth getting a high-end rare, or is that all phooey? Okay, well, needless to say that that's probably best in slot. But at the same time, do we really need it? The answer is no. This is probably best in slot. If you can get something close to this, let's be honest, this is probably best in slot. That was a lot of fun. That was like cutting through butter. Let's see about the Flesh Ripper now. So again, I'll just make a new game. I like to kill the same monsters as a point of comparison because then you really get a feel for the difference. If you just go around killing all different monster packs, you don't really get a sense for how different a certain weapon or skill is when you're using it. Okay guys, keeping in mind that this is in fact Player's 8 Hell, this is a contender for best in slot. Using Mirrored Blades with that just absolutely shredded them. It made pulled pork out of them. This is Player's 8, just unbelievable. Okay, what else? So we've tried these three. And like only on this channel are you gonna get, you know, someone using something like, you know, Zotted Flesh Ripper for like a Warlock, or even, you know, this weird, who's gonna go through the trouble of mimicking your high-end rares just to see how they work out, or the Oath Cryptic Sword. Who thought of that? Now some of you might be thinking, why don't you use a two-handed sword? Yeah, you'll get more damage, but at the cost of attack speed. And you have to remember, this whole thing relies on attack speed because most of your damage is coming from your magical damage from your Hex-Bane, right? So now we have Breath of the Dying in a War Spike. These guys hit just as fast as the Phase Blades, and Breath of the Dying comes with 60 increased attack speed. So to be honest, he's a perfect candidate. Let's make a new game. War Spike is a perfect candidate for this build. It's nicely nestled, very nicely niched, because what it is he fits between, let's say, like Oath, which is higher damage, but it's not going to attack as fast as something like the War Spike, right? So he's much faster, maybe a little bit lower on the damage, but not by much. I mean, he has much higher minimum damage. If you look, the Cryptic Sword only gives you 32, whereas this gives you 231, so I mean, it's a huge boost. He hits, yeah, and he hits for more damage than the Phase Blade as well, though he doesn't hit quite as fast. So he fits somewhere between these two, okay? But he could be the best of the pick, right? That's not to say he's not the best one, so let's see. Again, just gotta do all our pre-buffs here. So yeah, I mean, the top end damage isn't quite as much as it was with the Fortitude and the Oath, right? Because we made some swaps here. We've got Treachery now instead of Fortitude, and we've got Breath of the Dying instead of the Oath. But I gotta say, this feels much better, okay? Not to mention you get the dual leech right on your weapon, so you don't need to have this ring or have it on an amulet or have it anywhere else. You get minus to target's defense, which is always huge. Just a bunch of other really good stats, right? So this one works really well. It's really nicely niched, let's call it, for this sort of build. He's clearing player Zaid like it's nobody's business. And just look at it. Look at this cleave speed. Right? That cleave speed is just absurd. Cleave all day, man. This is so much fun. Yeah, my mercenary bit the dust, but we don't care. You guys saw that Shank took like 3 or 4 Mirrored Blade hits again. We're playing players 8. Sorry to keep going back to it, so I make sure you guys know I'm not pulling the wool over your eyes. And we're playing Hell. So players 8 Hell, and like barely a scratch on me. It's mostly these guys that are getting through. They have a good hit chance. But other than those guys, like, and the mercenary is also just totally inconsequential. You could have like a totally naked Act 3 mercenary if you wanted, just for giggles. You don't rely on your mercenary at all, right? And the real beauty of this build is not only does it hit for exceptional damage, but when you're using something like the War Spike or the Oath, you're hitting for both enough physical and magical damage with every hit, which means that if they're immune to one, they won't be immune to the other. Very rarely you might encounter like a super unique monster that's immune to both. Just skip them, honestly, at that point. Just skip that monster. Or what you can do is you can put on something like Lawbringer, right? Which gives you the Decryptify chance on striking, which will remove their physical immunity. So if you keep something like this in your inventory or in your chest, you can just dispatch them that way, right? You also get the added benefit of Sanctuary as well, which is nice. You could use other things in this slot. Lacerator has an amp damage chance. The new weapon Dreadfang has an amp damage chance. Those would be very good options as well, to be honest. An Ethereal Dreadfang, I wonder if I have one to show you guys. I know I had one earlier. I have to make a video about it some other time, but an Ethereal Dreadfang is an absolutely amazing option as well for this whole build, for this whole Hex-Bane / Cleave / Mirrored Blade style build. And if you were to use actually something like a Dreadfang, you'd never encounter any immunities whatsoever, because you'd proc that amp damage always, and so there would be no physical immunes, and the only thing that could possibly be immune to them would become the magical damage, but you wouldn't care much about it because they'd be dead from the procs and everything, right? So alright guys, I'm gonna end the video there, but hopefully you got a really nice taste and understanding for the capabilities of this build. He can really use a lot of versatile different options, except for this one. I don't recommend Passion, but literally any of these other ones I've used successfully. Voice of Reason works great. War Spike if you want the extra physical. Oath if you want the extra physical. Some sort of amazing rare find if you want the extra physical. Even Fanged Knife Flesh Ripper works great with the Zodran, and it's at the real version for that extra physical. If you don't care too much about it, then things like Lawbringer and a Phase Blade work great. You know, even in the other Voice of Reason works great. In the other video we were showing you guys, like, you know, things like this, 3 Shawl, 3 Etherins, this would work great. Like, really guys, it really would, because what happens is, again, all your damage is coming from the magic. So let's say I go into Travancore just to make my point, okay? Let's go into Travancore. I have terrible resistances, especially fire, so I'll probably die really fast, but let's see. Okay, so that's player Zaid Hell, barely a scratch on me, right? And the only reason I'm luring them and dodging is because my resistances are so pitiful. But as you guys can see, it really does not matter what weapon you have. This build does great. You really can't argue with it. I mean, just look at this. Yeah, I'm so impressed by this build, guys. Honestly, I'm gonna go respec my Echoing Strike right now. Alright, catch you in the next one.